Greetings, I'm Roly Sussex, your Australia Day Ambassador, and under normal circumstances I'd have been there with you for this Australia Day. But as it is, I'm afraid that COVID has cancelled all of that and we'll have to make do with this digital version. And so, greetings to Mayor Sean Dillon and the councillors and all of those from Barcaldine and the area who've turned up to mark Australia Day. Respects to the Inangai people, the traditional owners of the land where we meet today, and their elders past, present and emerging. May we walk on this land with respect and understanding. I've been an Australia Day Ambassador since 2008, and each year when Premier's Department contacts me and says, "Where do you want to go?" I say country Queensland, of course. And so, alphabetically, I've been to Burketown, Croydon, Georgetown, Currumba, Normanton, Thursday Island, Wondoan and twice to Winton. And I love country Queensland both for what it is and for the way in which it helps me to think again about the Australia that I live in. Remember that we have the longest continual cultural heritage of any country on the planet, 65,000 years, thanks to our Indigenous people. There are about 26 million of us, of whom 30% were born overseas. That's an astonishing number, and 2.8% are of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander heritage. We're known to be resilient, cheerful, able to stand up and deal with all sorts of problems and troubles with energy and decision. Things like floods and fires and drought and heat waves and cyclones, of which we have more than most other countries. I've got two stories to tell you about this because I think they capture rather well what I think about Australia and its ability to stand up in the face of diversity. The first is about an American cyclist. He was in Australia in 2011 when the floods hit Brisbane. He was in Adelaide riding in the Tour Down Under. He came to Brisbane to lead a charity ride from Brisbane to the Gold Coast to raise money for those who'd been flooded out. And at the end of the day, he was interviewed on TV and they said, "How did you go?" And he said, "I don't know how you do it, but you guys are doing something right." In New Orleans after Katrina, the roads were jam-packed with cars trying to get out. The roads into Brisbane people are trying to get in to help. And he said, "I don't know why, but something here is working rather well." And it was. I had a friend with a house in Chelmer, just south of the river in Brisbane, which was flooded up to the rafters. And when he got back to it, it had mud all the way up to the roof. Outside his house, on the nature strip, there were about 40 people he'd never seen before in gumboots and rubber gloves, and they said, "We've come to clean your place out." They got a hose, they hosed it down, they tore down the gyprock and the smelly old wet furniture and threw it out into the road, put the fans on to dry it out, and went next door to do the same thing. People he'd never seen before. A friend of mine who used to farm at Blackall laughed and said, "Well, it's city people behaving like country people." Maybe. But it's also, I think, typical of Australians and our way in which, even when things get tough, we can show good spirit and good humour and basically just settle down and do what's necessary. I'm a linguist and I study Australian English, and one of the things we're famous for internationally is the colourful, creative, original nature of our language. Barcaldine is Barky, and we've got Bundy and Rocky and Rocco, which is Rockingham in WA. We drink Cab Sav and Shardy and Gewurz, and we go to the footy at the Gabba, and we watch Warney play cricket. These things are called diminutives. I've got a database of over 6,000 of them, and they show the way in which we make things sort of friendly, if you like. We even did it with quarantine, which came out as quasar. Now, if your name is Murray, you get Muzza. If your name is Terry, you get Tezza. If you're Barry, you get Bazza. R becomes Z, and quarantine became quasar. I predicted it, and when it happened, I knew that it would. But it's a way in which we say, this thing is not going to get on top of us. And we've got lots of ways of playing with language and playing with the world around us. We say we're flat out like a lizard drinking, or angry as a cut snake, or cross as a frog in a sock, or off like a bucket of prawns in the sun. People from overseas look at these and say, "Who invents them?" I don't know. Some bloke with a beer in a pub in Thargomindah one afternoon when he's struck with a moment of poetry. But these things go around very quickly and they become part of the way we talk. There's a lot in this country to be grateful for. I didn't know until I travelled overseas that the sky isn't always blue. There are many places in Asia where it's brown because of the pollution, and you don't see stars at night for the same reason. You can't breathe the air, it's polluted. We've got space to move. There are 2.9 people per square kilometre in Australia. The number for Macau, next to Hong Kong, is over 18,000. And if you happen to break down on the road, particularly in country Queensland, you can be pretty certain that the next car to come along will probably stop and give you some help. I can name dozens of countries overseas where that is not the case. And so, rejoice in Australia Day. I congratulate you on our joint achievement and wish you a fine time together. Thank you.